What is up, my people? How are we doing? We are on the road. We are multitasking today. Hopefully you guys don't mind me driving and talking and driving and doing all this crazy shit out here. Today we're going to talk about intimidation tactics, or psychological attacks. And I'm a little late to this one. Of course, this is a video I've been trying to make for a while, but I never quite get it right. After I do this one, I'm just gonna put it out the way it is. Just wing it. I hear some people write scripts, which is fine. Scripts are fine. I just want to make it feel a little bit more organic, I guess you could say. But the psychological aspect of fighting, of boxing, is one that I feel a lot of times people don't talk about too much, or people don't give it that much importance, and I understand that, because when it comes to boxing, when it comes to professional boxing, it's not that important unless you're like extremely good at it. Then it becomes important, but it's not as important as you might think. The reason is because it's not a street fight. If it was a street fight, intimidation tactics and psychological attacks would be way more important, because it's important to psych yourself up. It's important to have a psychological effect on your opponent when it comes to real life scenarios. And a really basic way to explain that is like war tactics, or when you're trained to fight in a battlefield. One of the main things they teach is to scream. Right, to scream and commit to one attack. And then after that, you just adapt and see what happens after that. And I mean, they're not gonna teach you how to throw the jab, or how to probe your opponent, or be thinking in there. Thinking is the enemy when it comes to war tactics, and when it comes to even street fighting. So that's why you see a lot of these guys when they're in World War II, World War III. I mean, World War One. World War III hasn't happened yet, but Trump's in office, so just wait a couple of days. I'm kidding, guys. Chill, relax. I know how some of y'all get with the whole politics thing, but yeah, like the war tactics. If you look at war tactics and you look at the way they train people, it's a scream, and then you attack, right? Especially if it's hand to hand or melee type combat, or it's bayonet. Like when you have the bayonets, you run out of bullets, and then you have to do the bayonet thing, and it was like and then you go in for the kill. And the reason for that is because it's a psychological attack. Even you could even say it's a psychic attack, because psychic meaning you're using your brain power and your abilities to intimidate to cause psychological damage on your opponent. A noise. Right, that's what you're using. You're using your the natural noise of fear and anger and everything that you have inside of you to, affect your opponent's brain and make him go into shock for long enough for you to stick a bayonet into his heart or whatever. And that's the the way most war tactics, or if you were gonna train a bunch of people to defend themselves, that's what you would do. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, you run out of bullets, you gotta rush the enemy and scream. Of course, a lot of you are gonna die, but you know, the thing is, you might have a better chance of winning if you do that. And this is why Aikido is useful in a war setting. Like, a lot of people say Aikido is fake or whatever. Not necessarily fake. It's just you know, it is made for a different scenario than a combat setting where you're going to throw a jab and you're going to have time to probe your opponent and test them out and then set them up for shots. There's not going to be any of that in a street fight or in a war setting. But the closer you get to a sports setting, the less important that kind of stuff becomes. Because everything in a sports setting is more controlled. You're in a controlled environment. And because you're in a controlled environment, you know, there's going to be time between you screaming and doing all that shit that you did. There's going to be a long time is going to pass before you get in the ring and face each other for real. And it's part of the reason why a lot of these people that scream and yell, a lot of times go for a punch in between the stare down. And it's because of that. Because the thing is, when you're doing that kind of screaming shit, it's a psychological thing that people do to psych themselves up more than anything. And also, like I said before, you know, it's also psychologically affecting the other person as well. You know, but really, you know, it is kind of mainly for yourself to psych yourself up, right? And it's a combination of both of those things together that makes it successful to scream and yell as you attack somebody. Of course, you could also say, like, air is pushing out, and as air pushes out, you punch harder. This is also true. So this is all part of the martial arts. It's embedded into the martial arts for the same reason that it's embedded into war and combat and stuff like that. But when it comes to boxing, the main place we see it in is in the face-off, you know. But because boxing is, in my opinion, is one of the most civilized sports, even though it's the most brutal. There's a lot of things that happen in between that it makes it more of it makes it more disconnected from the real world, meaning like a real fight. Even MMA, you know, I know a lot of people like to believe that, and it is true to a certain extent. It is true that MMA is the closest thing to a street fight. But there's certain things that an MMA setting doesn't have that are separate from an actual street fight. And that is the face-off, right? The face-off, and not just the face-off, there's other things too, but today I want to talk about the face-off because that's where most of the intimidation goes. That's where most of the psychological attacks come from, or you see them displayed in this setting, is when this is happening. And so Alexander Usyk, you know, he came out, you know, dressed as Hitman, right? Not Hearns, not the Hitman Hearns, or the wrestling hit. What's the wrestling Hitman? His name is I forgot. He's Shawn. No, it's not Shawn Michaels. I forgot his name, But the point is, he was trying to be like the Hitman 47, the Agent 47, the video game character. And so I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about the different types of psychological attackers or people, right? and it's divided between, in my opinion, the strategic psychological attacker, the natural, and the scared guy, the scary guy. So those are the three types, right? Now let's talk about the natural first, because the natural, he's the most popular one. He's the one that most people like, you know. And the natural is pretty much Muhammad Ali. You know, Usyk is another one. Usyk is a natural. So, you know, what I mean by a natural? Well, a natural is a guy who's already doing, who's already like that. He's not doing it for any psychological effect. His personality is a psychological attack. You know, like even Mike Tyson to a certain extent. You know, he's not changing anything in order to intimidate you. He's already like that. You know, the same thing goes for Usyk. Usyk is always going to be doing this kind of stuff, and you know, because he's always playing around in his time alone. Like when he's by himself, you know, he's always dancing, he's always goofing around and doing stuff like this. So, so it's not like he's changing for. It's not like he's changing for to intimidate you, you know, or anything like that. It's like he's already like that. And when it comes to, you know, Ali, it's the same thing. Muhammad Ali is the same thing. You know, he's not really changing his attitude for you. He's already been like that. You know what I mean? Even Tyson, right? Mike Tyson, not Tyson Fury. Mike Tyson, you know, he's already like that. When he is in fight mode, he turns into an animal. There's two Mikes. There's friendly Mike trying to be, you know, friendly with people. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You know, that guy. You know, that guy. That guy's normal. You know, that guy's a normal dude. But if we're talking about fighting Mike with a boner while he's hitting the bag and breathing hard, that Mike Tyson, that guy is scary. You know, and he's naturally scary. He's naturally like that. But the thing about Mike is that he has to get himself psyched up in order to go into that mode. You know, he has to go into fight mode. You know what I mean? So that falls into another category, and I'm going to mention him later. He's a scary guy. But it doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean that they can't fight. It just means that he's fearful. He's in fear and in pain, and he uses that to bring mayhem on his opponents. You know. But anyways, let's get back to the natural. Another one that seems like he's natural is it could be natural is what's his name? Beterbiev. And Beterbiev, you know, it just seems like his demeanor is just, you know, that of a guy who's just not cool to hang around with. You know, he's not gonna be wanting to hang around with you anyways. All he wants to do is hurt people, you know. And it was funny because I was watching the interview between him and Bivol, and Bivol said, "Oh, I don't take it personal. You know, it's just a fight to me. I don't really hate anybody. You know." And then they talked to Beterbiev. And Beterbiev was like, no, I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't like anybody. And I don't even like you. I felt like he wanted to fight the interviewer because I feel like I feel like Beterbiev is one of these guys who doesn't really like drama. He doesn't really like any of that shit because he knows that if when push comes to shove, his first instinct is to attack. And he doesn't want to attack, so he keeps himself away from situations where there's possibilities of attacking. And I know people like that, and I leave those people alone, dude. Like, because even some of them are friendly, some of them are extremely friendly, and they try to be nice to you and stuff. Those guys, a lot of times they don't want to get into confrontation because they know that they're going to lose it and they're going to hurt somebody, because they've hurt people before. And trust me, Beterbiev, if he hits hard with gloves and protection and all kinds of regulations, you think he's not gonna hurt you if he hits you without a glove, bro? He's gonna kill you, bro. Like, that's just crazy. But yeah, that's the natural. The natural. He's really not trying he's really not trying to intimidate you, or if he is, that's not his main goal. His main goal is just having fun. He's just being himself, having fun, and his demeanor is what intimidates people or what affects people psychologically in whatever way. Because you're not always trying to intimidate people. Sometimes you just want to show them that you're not scared, or show them that he's not a big deal, stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much. By the way, I'm parked right now, so there's not gonna be that much noise anymore. I'm finna grab a snack and a drink here, which you guys should do too. Drink a little energy drink. I need to stop drinking these, by the way. I've actually gone down on my consumption of energy drinks, and I'm going to continue to do that. But small steps, guys. But yeah, so that's the natural, guys, right? The strategy guy, the strategic psychological attacker, he's the guy that does it to intimidate you. And a good example of that is Tyson Fury. And a lot of times people think, oh, Tyson Fury, he's always funny, he's always laughing, and so he has to be a natural. But that's not the case. In my opinion, or this is my opinion, he's constantly trying to manipulate the situation. This is why when he talks, he doesn't really make that much sense sometimes. That's one of the things about Tyson. Tyson Fury, he's constantly poking, constantly looking for weaknesses, pushing your buttons, and trying to figure out where you're gonna bend. And the reason I believe that is for various reasons. Number one, when he's in an interview. When he's in an interview, he's fighting, bro. Like, look at the way he talks to an interviewer. He doesn't really care about the interviewer. He looks at the interviewer like he's just like an obstacle to beat. And they tell him something, and he starts showing off on some shit like, oh yes, the money isn't that important to me, stuff like that. And then another interviewer is like, well, I only do it for the money. And you're like, okay, so first you say it is for the money, now it's not for the money. No, the thing is, he's approaching it differently depending on the guy he's facing, and he's always on. Okay, so he's constantly strategically moving, even when he's in an interview. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, dude, most of what he's saying is just bullshit. It's just throwing shit out there. Kind of like the way he boxes. He's flicking the jab, moving around, flicking the jab. That's what he's doing in an interview. And that's the way he carries himself. So to him, it's always strategy. And the reason I say that is because in this face-off or in this press conference, he didn't come out dressed as Batman or he didn't come out, screaming and yelling like he usually does. In his first fight against Usyk, he got in Usyk's face and he started, screaming and telling him shit and stuff like that, your sausage, stuff like that. So in this one, he didn't do that. Why? Because he knew that it didn't work last time and it wasn't going to work. So to him, it's then why do it if it's not going to work? Why be a clown if it's not going to affect the outcome or affect this guy psychologically in any type of way? So what I'm trying to say is he's a strategic psycho guy. He's a strategic psychological attacker. So now let's move on to the scared. The scared guy is the most common guy. Okay? He's the most common fighter. And the reason for that is because most martial artists join a martial arts because they got bullied. That's just the truth. Most of them did do it because they got bullied. Including myself, by the way, but that's another story. But the thing is, that's the main reason why a lot of martial artists are scared. And a lot of martial artists are how can you say this? They're scared little boys inside. They're still scared little boys. This is why it's important to learn the martial arts, but also develop, the spiritual or psychological aspects of the martial arts are also important. And I feel like Americans have neglected that side because they believe it to be some mumbo jumbo or some magic bullshit, right? So, and that makes them feel like, oh my God, no, don't touch me there, type shit. And that's why you get guys like this. You get guys that are going crazy. And listen, I'm not saying that this is the worst of the worst, but let's put it this way. If you were face to face with a guy and you had to choose between a strategic psychological attacker, a natural, or a scary one, the one that's gonna be more risky to be in front of is the scary one. Why? Because he's scared shitless. People when they're scared, they're unpredictable. You can't really calculate what they're gonna do. They're irrational. They have got it in their heads that they have to scream and yell in order to be superior to whoever's in front of them, and they're also pumping themselves up. It's like I told you before with the whole war tactic. The main reason they do it is because they want to psych themselves up, and number two, infect the opponent with the psychological attack. So it's pretty much like this, guys. It's pretty much like this. These guys here, they're like the most popular type of psychological attacker in MMA, and in not just in MMA, in boxing, any combat sport. And like I said, the reason they're doing that is because they are scared and they're trying to psych themselves up, right? But in their minds, they're thinking this. Okay, oh my God, I'm scared. That just know that that's what they're thinking when they're screaming like shit. That's what they're thinking. They're like, oh my God, I'm not scared. I promise. Look, I'm yelling, like that kind of shit. And the first thing you got to do is just realize that guy is scared shitless. Number one. Number two, keep it basic when it comes to the standoff. Now, if it's a street setting, you need to hit this guy in the throat immediately. I'm not kidding. You need to hit this guy in the throat immediately. And maybe he was just fucking around and messing around, but you don't want to risk that. Address the situation immediately. Like, check if he has a gun or whatever. If he has a gun, then it's even more threatening. Okay, so you wanna relax with this guy and maybe leave the premise. If he's yelling at you, just know that the guy is pretty unpredictable. He's just, you don't know if he could be on PCP. Who knows? So now you're probably thinking, what if this guy's a strategist and he just acting like this? Or what if this guy's naturally like this already? Right? The thing is this, you gotta see what he's usually like and then compare that to what he's doing at the moment. Okay? If he's usually always like that, then that means that this is a strategic or something happened. Something's happening in his life that's making him feel this way, or he's actually scared for his life in this one for whatever reason. But that's gonna come into play later. But the thing is, if he's usually cool, he's usually chill, he's relaxed or whatever, and then all of a sudden when he faces you, he's doing this shit. You could even look at his eyes and try to figure out. Because one time I remember this one guy wanted to fight me, and he was screaming and yelling, and I knew the guy, and I was like, "There's something wrong with this guy. I don't know what's happening. Maybe he's wrong. He's under the influence." And I looked at his eyes, and they were moving side to side like rapidly, like. Now, yeah, this guy's on some shit. So sometimes you just gotta look immediately. Just look and observe. I'm not telling you to focus on it and be like, he has blue eyes, and don't do that. Whatever information you can capture by looking, that's fine. But it has to be quick. It can't be no freaking Sherlock Holmes slow motion type shit. But you're gonna get your ass beat if that happens. But the thing is, when these guys are in a professional setting, I think they're more dangerous. Because in a professional setting, if both guys are relaxed like this, usually it's like, okay, whatever. They both know they're getting paid and they're happy about it. Cool. But usually these guys that are scared, if what bothers them the most is that you're not scared. That's what bothers them the most. What bothers them the most is confidence. Confidence and non-reactiveness. Because to them, that's an insult. So what you want to do is react to their aggression, to their psychological aggression, appropriately. So if they get close to your face, you either have to push them back or scoot back a little bit, extend your hands, make your hands big, extend your hands, and say, "What's up? What do you want to do?" Why do you do that? Because you want to back up to give yourself space, but you don't want to look like you're scared. So reacting isn't bad. Reacting inappropriately is bad. So, for example, a lot of people try to tell their fighters not to flinch. Flinching is okay. It means you got good reflexes. What you got to do is flinch appropriately. Make it to where when you flinch, you push. When you flinch, you mush the face. That's what you want to do. You want your reactions to be appropriate. And listen, if you hit somebody accidentally, then hey, don't get froggy, because my shit just reacts on a dime, baby, on a dime. But you want to react appropriately. That's my suggestion. If you see a guy, first of all, when you walk into a room, let me just tell you, this is just basic ethics, um, especially if you're like in a bad neighborhood, okay, or in a semi-bad neighborhood in between the hood and like the suburbs. Um, so anyways, what you want to do is acknowledge everybody, okay? If you know somebody, call them out. Hey, yo, what's up? I don't know, Fred or Jim or fucking Fred. Some people call people, they have to say the F word before they say the name, or else they don't respond. So it's like fucking Fred. Cool. Um. So, anyways, you just have to acknowledge people, okay? And even if you don't know them, if you don't know them, don't call their name. That's not good. If you don't know them, just kind of acknowledge them with your face in the direction of your body. Okay, always just like, okay, you see him, you see him, you see him. You see him. Always look around. Because the thing is, the two things are going to happen if you go to these kind of places. Or even to neighborhoods that you don't know. Because sometimes they're not the hood. Sometimes it's in the countryside. And people just don't like strangers. Especially here in Texas. You go to certain towns here in Texas. If they don't know you, you're the enemy. That's just what it is. It doesn't even matter. They don't have to be hood rats or whatever. They could be country folks. They don't know you, you're the enemy. It could sound racist sometimes, but sometimes it's not even racist. Sometimes it's just like they don't know you. It's plain and simple. If you go to an area like this, guys, I'm telling you, this is. I know it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but you have to acknowledge everything you see in a place. That is respectful to them. Okay, it's respectful. Not only that, but it shows that you're not a mark. Okay, it shows that you're not a victim. Because victims walk a certain way, bro. I'm telling you, victims walk a certain way. They talk a certain way. And they do certain things that prey don't do, or people that are aware don't do. Okay, so you always want to move like you're aware. You walk into a location, be it a barber shop, a shopping center, or whatever. You walk into a location, you acknowledge everything around you. You look to the side, you see a guy standing there kind of weird. You just nod at him a little bit and continue. Don't spend too much time on people. I'm not saying to look at people up and down. I'm not saying that don't mean mug people, because that's disrespectful too. I'm just saying acknowledge them. Just look at them for a sec, boom, move. Once, less than a second actually. Just boom, 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 boom. Okay, there's 4 people here. Pop, let's go. Why is that important? Like I said, number one, you don't want to look like a mark. Anybody that walks into a place they don't know and they just walk in nonchalant and don't acknowledge anybody, don't even look at nothing. Number one, that guy's a mark. And if you bump into shit a lot, that's even worse. Because some people think they're cool by bumping into other people, and acting like they didn't see them. Not to me. If I see somebody like that, dude, that guy's a mark. Number one, he's a mark, and number two, he's disrespectful. Okay, that's how it used to be. I don't know if it's still the same way now, but that's how it used to be. So why is it disrespectful? Okay, let's go into that, because that's what goes into the boxing stuff. It's disrespectful because you don't acknowledge people. And number two, it shows that you feel like you don't have to worry about the place. Like, oh, this is my place. Because only people that know the place can walk into a place like, hey, and not look around. But if nobody knows you there, and you walk in like nonchalant, like you don't respect nobody, guess what's going to happen? First thing somebody's going to say, do you know him? I said, no, I don't know him. Do you know him? No, I don't know him either. And then you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble, because now nobody knows you. That's going to get to somebody who wants to know you. And then what? I'm just letting you know how it is. But anyways, now if you don't show fear and if you don't show reflexes or anything like that, this is what happens. This is what happens. The guy who's trying to intimidate you and was not able to intimidate you through psychological means, he's going to try to put his hands on you and show you that he is the alpha or whatever the fuck he thinks he is. You know, he wants to show dominance, basically. And since you weren't intimidated by him and you showed lack of reflexes and lack of reactions to his actions, he's going to go for a grab. So a lot of people say, oh, don't react to his shit. Just stay still. Just stay totally still and stand your ground and kind of, you know, meditate while you're doing it. Like, no, bro. Don't meditate, because you meditate, you're going to get smacked in the face. Okay? The thing you got to do, he's moving, doing motions. Do motions too. Like, you know, make yourself bigger by extending your hands. You know, don't be like Karate Kid. I'm not saying that. Like, you know, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I'll post a picture on here or something. But just extend your hands, put your hands wide, or put them in front of your face. Put your hand right in his face. If he goes for a smack, you know, you have to have hands in front of your face or something. And you got to be moving. Because if you're moving, moving objects are harder to hit. And people know that. And if they're doing shit in front of you, you know, I used to know a guy. Okay, I used to know a guy way back in the day who never got into fights, but he was very good at intimidating. And I would observe him. I would try to see what he's doing. And every time he was about to get in a fight, he would walk around side to side, like in front of you, and it looked like he was dancing, kind of. Like if you looked at him, it looked like kind of he was dancing. Like he was doing the walking man or whatever. I forgot the name of the dance. Is it like a 90s dance? And so he was moving back and forth, right? And acting like he wanted to fight. And he had this weird stance to where he would stick his elbows out, this is a horrible stance, by the way. He would stick his elbows out and put it on the side, on his side, like on his tit, like what his tit is. He would put it on the side of his tit and stick his elbows out and put his foot in front of him and start like moving his hands, right? But anyways, that's what he would do, and he would move around and say his name. You know, let's just say his name is Terrence Williams or something. And he was like, I'm Terrence Williams. I'm Terrence Williams. You can't fuck with me. I'm Terrence Williams. And he would just move side to side. And the other guys that he would usually, you know, supposedly was going to get in a fight with, they would get scared. Because he was, first of all, he was screaming, yelling out his name and stuff like that. And the thing about this guy is that he knew how to roast people. He was very good at roasting people. And a lot of people liked him because of that. So everybody was his friend. And so every time he would fight, or he was about to fight, he would always do that. And the crowd would gather. And most people were intimidated by that. They were like, you know what? You know what? I don't need the drama. I wanted to scrap, but now we're surrounded by people. People start thinking, man, if I get whooped by this guy, you know, it's gonna be hell. Because not only was he gonna whoop you, he's gonna roast you. But yeah, he never got in a fight. But what he was doing is that he was using all of the psychological powers that he had to avoid fighting and to intimidate people and make them not even want to fight. You know, and the thing about it is, like, as he was doing these things and saying his name, he was also roasting you and talking shit about you, and people would just start laughing at you. And so that's a good example of somebody who uses psychological attacks in a way that prevents him from fighting. But the reason I brought it up is because, you know, if somebody could match that, it's gonna be a long night for this type of fight, and people are just gonna separate them. And what I'm trying to say is, if he's moving around, he's moving back and forth. You could just, I don't know, just move around too. But if you just stay there, this is gonna happen. But anyways, that guy was not a natural or a scary guy. He was scared. I mean, maybe he was scared. I don't know, but he was always roasting people and stuff like that. So who knows? But anyways, that's my take, guys. Those are my 3 types of psychological attackers: the scary guy, the strategic guy, and the natural. Tell me which one is your personal favorite. Mike Tyson was a scary one, by the way. That's the one I was gonna say. And people are gonna say, "Oh, he's a natural," but the thing is, if you have to psych yourself up to be to be a fighter, I don't think you're a natural. You know what I mean? Because I don't think Muhammad Ali had to psych himself up. I think Muhammad Ali always thought he was the greatest. He was always the way he was, even outside of the ring. He was always joking around. He liked insult comedy, so he was a big fan of that. He liked when people insulted him, like jokingly, and he would do it back. So he was that type of guy. Okay, and the thing about those types of guys is not everybody likes them. Why? Because people take shit personal. So that's why I think Muhammad Ali was a natural, and Mike Tyson, he falls into the category of a scary guy. And by the way, when I say scary, this doesn't mean that they can't fight, guys. And like I said before, when it comes to professional fighting, boxing and MMA, the stare down means less than in the streets. Okay, because in the streets, if you stare somebody down, you're usually going to fight. There's going to be a punch thrown right there. You don't have to wait a day or a month to see the guy again and box him. It doesn't work that way. So it's in the heat of the moment. Boom! In the heat of the moment, the fight starts and then ends just as fast. If you're good. But when it comes to professional fighting, there's a lot of things that stand in the way of it. But if you do happen to catch a guy that is a scary fighter, those are the scariest ones because they're more unpredictable. They might go for a punch. Now, Conor McGregor, he was on the picture, right? So Conor McGregor, he could be confused for a guy that's a natural because he's naturally like that. But sometimes people could be so long doing something that it seems like they're natural. But they're not. That's why I don't think Conor McGregor is a natural. I think he's a scary one. I think he's scary. That's what I think personally. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, no. Because the thing is, here in the U.S., a lot of people think that the guy who's yelling the most and screaming the most and doing the most is the most bravest guy in the room. And the answer is he's not. Most of the time he's not. The guy you got to be careful with is the guy who's quietest. And the guy who's usually in the corners of the room. Because whether they know it or not, they're trying to be aware of what's going on around them, and they want to see everything for a reason. Who knows? Maybe he knows what he's doing, maybe he doesn't. But he wants to see everything. Yeah, so, but like I said, Conor McGregor, in my opinion, is the scary dude. Floyd Mayweather, he's a strategist, but he also has a bit of that old school mentality to where if you're not reacting to his movements, if you're not um, acknowledging him, he will take it as disrespect, especially if you're about to fight him. Sometimes it doesn't matter to him because he knows he's gonna beat you anyways, and that's when you really should be scared, in my opinion. I think I think he was scared of Oscar. I think he was scared of Oscar. Um, Personally, I think he was scared of Oscar. Like the way he took that fight and the way he was talking in that fight. I think he was scared of Oscar, um, in my opinion. And you could tell because he was constantly trying to get him out of his comfort zone and intimidate him. And he even said it in the documentary. He said when he was looking straight at me, I knew I had him. Mayweather's good, man. Mayweather. He's a strategist for sure. He's he's like Tyson Fury. He's a strategist, and he's always playing it. He's always playing the game. That's the thing. That's the one thing I like about strategists is that everything they're doing is a strategy to them. And that's why Mayweather and Tyson Fury, in my opinion, they fall in the same category. And Usyk knows this. You ask Usyk, then they've asked him a couple of times, what did you find out about Tyson, or what do you think about Tyson? The main thing he says is that he's very smart, and he doesn't want to give his secrets away because he knows that Tyson's going to exploit them. He knows this. And he's also a gypsy. You know what, like, the rumors about gypsies are? And I'm not even going to say that it is true or not. I'm just saying that's what people say. But that is it for today, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.